In 1999, two small-town doctors were embroiled in a feud that turned into a multi-million-dollar lawsuit and eventually a murder. Here now with the third story in the crime tapes is our David Ewasuk.
This is the case of feuding physicians in the small town of Fairview. On May 5th, 1999, the two rival doctors, Douglas Snider and Abraham Cooper, met to hash out an impending lawsuit. After that meeting, one man was missing, the other stood accused of killing him. Here's what it looked like when the case reached the courthouse on the crime tapes.
We're relieved that the trial is finally starting. It has been a difficult 16 months.
Jurors heard that Dr. Doug Snider's family never saw him alive again after that night in May of 1999 when he went to meet Dr. Abraham Cooper at Cooper's Fairview Medical Clinic. The two were said to be trying to resolve Cooper's multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Snider and two other local physicians, with claims that group was trying to sabotage Cooper's medical livelihood. Instead, all investigators found there was blood, and a lot of it. The defense put up an argument that far from the clinic being the scene of a killing, their theory was that Dr. Snider was still alive, somewhere, living a secret double life, telling jurors, "I think this is going to continue to be a mystery. At the end of it, you will not know." None of it sat well with the Snider family because even though the evidence appeared overwhelming, the one thing they wanted more than anything was missing.
For the Snider family, this does not mean closure. We don't have a body. The family would love to have a burial.
Coming up in part 2, no body, but enough evidence to prove something bloody and sinister took place in that office up in Fairview, Alberta, and perhaps further on down the road as well. In 1999, Dr. Doug Snider had been seeing patients in the town of Fairview, Alberta for 3 decades. He was very well known and well liked. But so too was another physician who had arrived just 10 years earlier from the United States, Dr. Abraham Cooper. He had a black belt in martial arts, a Harley-Davidson, and a pilot's license. He also practiced alternative forms of medicine, and by some accounts, he could be loud and abrasive. Cooper was professionally and personally at odds with Snider and 2 other physicians. On May 5th, 1999, these 2 doctors were to meet with plans to settle a lawsuit. And while the Crown had plenty of evidence that Snider was killed at that meeting, the defense came back with a theory of its own, that Snider was still alive. Here now, more from that case on the crime tapes. In October of 2000, an Edmonton jury took little more than a day to find Dr. Abraham Cooper guilty of killing fellow Fairview physician Dr. Doug Snider. But Snider's family found no reason for celebration.
The family came looking for answers. We didn't receive anything.
What they wanted was some trace of the missing father and husband, but what they heard instead was a theory the defense had put forward that Dr. Doug Snider somehow staged his own disappearance and was living a secret double life. This after 2 truckers testified a chatty man they encountered in BC looked remarkably like Snider days after the Crown's contention that Dr. Abraham Cooper had killed him.
Instead, we heard our father was alive. What a cruel, what a ridiculous thing to say.
While the jury didn't buy it, there was a problem with the Crown's murder case. There was no body. Yet blood was everywhere, not only inside Cooper's office, but also evidence that large amounts of Snider's blood pooled in the trunk of Cooper's car, then leaked out and sprayed the underside of Cooper's vehicle. Ultimately, with no one able to say exactly what happened in that office on that last night Dr. Snider was seen alive.
Mr. Anderson, why didn't you put your client on the stand?
Well, decisions are made.
In the end, the jury found Dr. Cooper guilty of manslaughter and not murder.
My hopes are irrelevant. I indicted for first-degree murder, the jury convicted of manslaughter.
This particular trial played a key role in how quickly Edmonton news audiences were able to view exhibits, especially during jury trials. CTV Edmonton stood before Madam Justice Joanne Veit and made application, a request for daily access to the exhibits shown to jurors. The justice granted that access to view and broadcast the exhibits, something that is now commonplace during high-profile jury trials in the Court of King's Bench. Dr. Abraham Cooper was handed a 10-year sentence, but with credit for pretrial custody, he served 7 years and 4 months. He lost his license to practice medicine, but he maintains his innocence. He was released in 2008. As for where Dr. Snider's remains might be, it should be noted that Cooper's car with all that blood in the trunk was actually found at the Edmonton International Airport a few days after Snider disappeared. At trial, it was speculated Cooper could have dumped Snider's body anywhere on the 500-kilometer drive between our airport and the town of Fairview. No trace of Dr. Doug Snider has ever been found. Thanks for watching the Crime Tapes. I'm David Ewasuk.